to the Be Better podcast with Infinity Real Estate Services. True stories from Bakersfield's business owners and entrepreneurs. We have sold over 50,000 homes in the Kern County area, and we are still going. Delete your limiting beliefs. If you have a dream, turn it into a goal. Only massive, inspired action will get you to where you want to be. If you're starting a business or looking to grow one, you're in the right spot. Welcome to the Be Better experience.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Be Better podcast brought to you by Infinity Real Estate Services. I have a friend and a really amazing person as my guest today. He is a local businessman. He used to be a Kern County sheriff, and today he spends his time doing bids and running job sites for, is it DAC Construction or DAC?
It's DAC Inc.
DAC Inc.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for being here, Todd Richard.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we'll just jump right into it. We know each other from an anonymous 12-step program.
We do.
I had made some like show notes and I was like, how did we meet? And I think we just sat next to each other at a meeting.
Yeah. I was trying to think about it the other night, and I actually don't really remember.
Willing to bet it was the Friday night speaker meeting.
Yep.
And then, I don't know. It was just like when I met you, I felt like we knew each other in another life or something. It was instantly became friends.
Yep.
And
I agree.
So your life has changed a lot since I met you. And
a lot.
Obviously, I've gone through some stuff too, but I'm just going to say it. I have a sobriety date of 6/27/2016. And that's the day that I surrendered. And I decided that Summersville probably wasn't the best way to run my life.
Yeah, well, that's real similar with mine. My sobriety date is 12/19/19. So my whole life has changed since I made that decision, like flipped upside down.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to share a little story, and sorry if I cross any lines, but I'm sharing a story.
No, you're good.
So Todd and I had met for lunch at a sushi restaurant here in town, and you were like, man, life was beating you up. You really were in sobriety, probably the lowest point, I think, in your life in sobriety, right? And I remember standing outside and you were driving a car that was your sister's, that your parents allowed you to drive because your truck that was a whole nother story. But you were like bummed and sad. And I remember standing out there and I remember telling you, like, your story is going to be the best one. Like, the best is yet to be. And like, I can't wait to see what happens for you in recovery. Yeah. And then it was like, I mean, I'm not saying I'm a prophet or anything, but it was like 6 months later and your life completely turned around. Do you want to share a little bit about where you're at?
I think that, I was born with my dad's gift of gab, and
And your dad's a realtor or retired realtor?
Yeah, retired, but did really well at it. But I've always had the ability to manipulate things however I need them to go, just by using speech and human communication. And I was just controlled by a substance that had me using it for the wrong reasons. And I could manipulate myself into the wrong jobs or the wrong relationships. I finally made a decision to follow a simple program that completely changed my life. And my whole outlook on everything since then has changed. Even the way that I view the same people I did 3 or 4 years ago, it's completely changed. The way I look at the homeless, the way I look at and I was the guy that I would drive up to a corner and throw trash at them on bad days because I would blame them for being in the street. And I see it as untreated mental illness now. And, it doesn't mean I give a dollar to everyone I see, but there's some love and grace there for people like that. And if it wasn't for me surrendering my own ideas, I don't know if I'd actually be here today.
Yeah, I sometimes like try to play that tape out. Like, man, if I wouldn't have stopped when I stopped, where would I be today? And I don't get further than 2 weeks and I'm dead. Like in my mind when I'm playing the tape out, because I know the point I was at was like, that was it. It was either that or I was going to be the homeless person that you were throwing trash at on the corner. Like there was no in between. That was the why in the road that I had to choose from. Die or be the crazy lady that wears all of her clothes and stands in the middle of the intersection telling you that Jesus is coming because I've seen hell. Like, that was my next step.
Yeah, I think for me, my support system has been so strong, even like in my immediate family, that helped me get through a lot of.
But they made you feel it. They made you feel it for a minute.
Yeah. So like since I got sober and stopped drinking, my dad's told me the truth now, because my dad lives in Ohio now, and they've all moved there. Of course it's nicer than California and cheaper, so I don't blame him. But
nothing's better than Bakersfield.
But they were so, because I had a brother that died when I was 10. He was 7, died of a brain tumor, and my family just kept saying like, we don't want our other son to die. And it was hard for him to watch because I was making a decision to kill myself. But I didn't really realize I was doing it for a while. So, you fast forward the tape to only a couple months ago, and my dad told me he said, I made a decision to move out of state because I couldn't be around you every day. I feel like I was enabling you, because there's part of it they would not physically let me die.
Right.
So he would give me things or help me get vehicles or help me, right? So his way to fix that and let me figure this out on my own was to completely move out of state. And he did. And he lives a great life there, and we have the best relationship I could have ever imagined today. But it couldn't happen while he was still here. So my stepmom moved, my mother moved, my dad moved, and I was left alone for the most part. They were a phone call away, but that for me, everyone's low point is different. That was the lowest point in my life. I had to wake up one morning and realize that I felt abandoned.
Yep.
And I struggled with abandonment issues when I was younger also. When my brother was dying, my parents were always at the hospital, and I lived with a neighbor, and there was just a lot that went on. I was raised by a great family. They both loved me, but they just weren't there.
But that's a self-protection mechanism, right? Because I know, when I was at the end of my road before I decided to surrender, my daughter pulled away from me, and she straight up told me in that moment, it hurts too much to have a relationship with you. All you do is break promises. Right. Like I don't need that. Every time I talk to you, I'm upset. Yeah. And she was 14 years old when she said that to me, and that stings, that hurts. But I also had an alcoholic father, and I did the same thing to him. I would create distance between us and build this emotional wall, because at some point you're going to die. And if I pull away from you now, maybe it will hurt less, but then you're left with a whole nother set of guilt and, I should have been there. There's no right way to do life. You just kind of figure it out. And
yeah. I think for me, if there's people out there that end up listening to this someday,
we have lots of viewers and listeners.
This is huge. It's exciting because to me, all we need is a little bit of hope. It's that beacon of hope, because everyone goes through bad things. You don't have to have a 12-step program problem to have problems. To have problems, right? Exactly. But we all need a little.
We have a 12-step solution to our problems, and that's a beautiful thing.
So I feel like I listened to what God was trying to tell me, and now I am some sort of, and I pray it every day, that I'm just some sort of vessel for him. And I'm never perfect at it, but I truly wake up each day and ask him to make me that vessel, whatever that is. All I want to do is help people. That's it. I want to be able to pay my bills, be a good dad, be a good husband someday, and help people. That's it. And I just didn't have that mentality prior, so I had to have it beat out of me by my own self-will to figure it out. And here I am. So it's hard to, I'll listen to some people who aren't part of a program, and they're telling me their story or their issues, and I'm thinking like, man, I wish they had a 12-step program for everything.
Right.
Like just how to even communicate with your neighbors. It would help people. That's it. So,
It would, 100%.
And there's power in asking for help. I've learned that. I always knew that I was talented. I always knew that I had, I've had multiple people my whole life tell me, like, you have an amazing ability to truthfully do whatever you want, but you're hindering yourself by.
I am my own worst enemy.
Yeah. So it's kind of weird. I'm 41 and I feel like I woke up to life only 4 or 5 years ago. So some of the things I get excited about are things that, 18-year-old kids are doing right now. I'll hopefully buy a house this year. I'm excited. But there's people at 18 years old buying their first house.
Right.
And I can look back at that and go, man, where was I at 18? Oh, well, I was just drinking a lot.
Yep.
So the beauty is to have the support system to let me know that's lots of people start over. I mean, they do. I just have the beauty of being able to. I watched a lot of people die.
So I had Jersey Larry on the show a couple weeks ago, and he said something really profound and beautiful, and I've been repeating it ever since. And it's not about him being, what was it? A macho Latino. That's not the thing I want to quote. He said, we're really lucky. We get to live 2 lives in one, right? Like once we have this change in perception, we get to have this brand new life. And the life that I get to live today pales in comparison to the one that I was surviving before I surrendered.
Sure.
And not everybody gets to say that. Most people hit a wall in life and like, that's it.
Yeah.
But we get this beautiful blessing of a second chance. Yeah.
I wish everyone got to experience it. Not the road that I took, I don't wish that on anybody, but I have someone who I work with, and he tells me, like, oh, the only reason you're so happy is because you had a near-death experience, and that happens to a lot of people. And, that's not why I'm so happy.
I don't know about you, but I had multiple near-death experiences, and but none of those made me happy or grateful or anything. Yeah. They, most of the time they just made me pissed off that I woke up.
Yep.
Because when I was in that, I was at the end, I was drinking to die. 100%. That was my goal. Yeah. And I just couldn't get there fast enough.
I couldn't die.
Yeah. No, I just kept waking up.
Yeah. And my little 6-year-old was like, it's hard for some people because they're like, man, you have this kid and isn't that enough? And it's not. But it's really hard to describe to someone who doesn't have a 12-step problem.
Someone who doesn't have an ism is never going to understand the solution. Yeah. So, and that's okay because it's not my responsibility to educate the world on my disease. It's my responsibility to treat myself for my disease. Yeah. And some people, will go as far. It's not a disease. You just stop. You just stop. Yeah. You just don't want to. Well, my brain is wired different than yours.
Yeah.
And I don't have a stop button.
Yeah. There's people that are born.
But that serves you well in other aspects.
Yeah.
Right?
It absolutely does. It absolutely does. Yeah. Because you're sitting across from someone who's taking an ambulance ride to the hospital 16 times. I've been hospitalized overnight 9 times. The last time, and it is the last time, my blood work came back and my mom had flown in to visit me, and the doctor was looking at it and he thought I was deceased based on my blood work. Ooh, and she said, no, my son's in the room. He's alive. And he said, oh, I didn't know that. I thought I was going to go in and look at a recently deceased person. So I was there. I mean, I was knocking on the door of death. So
have you ever experienced sleep paralysis?
Once or twice.
That's scary.
It is.
It's so scary. Yeah. Like it happened to me one time, probably about 2 weeks before I finally hit the wall, and it happened. And I was like, oh, I'm going to die. I got to go to rehab. Right. All this time I'm like drinking to dry. And all of a sudden the reality's there. I'm like, wait, maybe we don't want to die. Yeah. And I went down south to try to get into, one of those fancy $60,000 a month places where they have a chef and stuff. And they didn't have a bed for 2 weeks. And I remember looking at the lady and saying, I'll be dead in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I don't have 2 weeks. I don't have to figure out something else.
It's interesting because I'm a huge advocate for those places. I mean, it's a $60,000 big book is what I call it. But
right.
But had I not, or like I was raised by a blue collar family and they both worked really hard.
Because you did some treatments. I never did treatment.
Yeah,
I did it cold turkey and then went directly into the rooms, and And,
Yeah,
and that was it. I didn't have any.
That's awesome. Yeah, I ended up in and out of treatment 5 separate times. But the whole time it was just me, because everyone that I was surrounded with was saying, hey, just stay a little bit longer. And I would say, I got to get back to work. I got to get back to work. And the first thing I ever put in front of my recovery is always the first thing I lost. So it's just true. Every time, and they all supported me, go back to work, you got this. And I would make it 30 or 40 days, and then I was right back there.
So you said something very profound there, 5 times, right? So for anyone that's listening that has a family member or loved one that is attempting, that is willing to try to get better, please don't be discouraged if it takes them more than one time, because it takes what it takes. And as long as they're breathing, there's still hope for them. I'm not saying to enable them, go to a program for people that are with people that have a problem. I can't say the name of it, but it's out there and it will help you, or just get a therapist. But at the end of the day, don't give up hope, because it takes what it takes. I know so many people that had to try and try and try and try. And I tried and tried and tried many times before I actually was able to quit, and before I walked in and said, you know what, I need help. I have a problem and I need some help. It was actually my older brother. He said, and I'm going to curse a little bit here, so forgive me, but I'm going to quote him correctly. He said, if everybody tells you have a fucking problem, maybe you have a fucking problem and you need to get some fucking help.
Yeah.
And I was like,
yep.
Oh, that feels right. That feels accurate.
Yeah. One of the people I disliked the most when I first went into treatment has turned into be my best friend today. But I mean, I would, if my son wasn't in the picture or wasn't alive, I would lay on railroad tracks for this man, for sure. He helped save my life multiple times, but he's never given up on me. But he finally, what clicked for me one day is he went and visited me when my blood work showed that I was dead. And he said, you're never going to fucking die. You're just not. But
you're not that lucky.
You're going to live this way forever. And there was just a change in my thought process at that moment. And I realized, because my son's getting old enough, he's going to start having to visit me in the hospital, or I'm going to die of cirrhosis or whatever it is.
He's not going to have a dad.
Yeah. And I just couldn't do it anymore. So I made a mental deal with myself that I would give this whole 12-step thing a real chance. I would do, even if I didn't tell anybody I was doing it, I was at least going to go try it. And I'm still doing it.
That's part of how I knew I was serious, because I didn't say anything to anyone, because I had disappointed, especially my daughter, so many times that I would rather I would rather jump off a bridge than to have to see the look of disappointment in her face and her eyes one more time that I put there. Right. Because I used to look at my parents that same way.
I bet.
And then there was this moment where I was like, I'm doing the same thing to her that they did to me, right? The only thing that gets to change that look of desperation and sadness and heartbreak in her eyes is my behavior.
Sure.
And, it took me a while to figure that out and get there. And you can't do it for someone else. No. I had lost custody of her in 2014, and I didn't get sober until 2016. You don't think that every single day I wanted to just be better for her?
Right.
And I had lost the choice. I had lost the choice, and I had also lost any connection with the higher power.
Yep, that's what it is.
And that's once you cut off that line of communication, and it's me that cuts it off. Right. I pollute it with all this other stuff, and there's no way to communicate. And that was one of the most beautiful and profound things that I experienced after I got sober, was being able to hear God again.
Yeah, that's the craziest thing. I always feel like
I hear voices.
I always feel like I had, I've shared it before, groups of people, but I feel like I had a little bit against me because I went into the program, raised as a private school kid, and I went to church every day. I was part of the singing, my mom's had CDs out on Christian radio, so I just figured I knew it already, and I just didn't have that relationship. And I was trying to explain it to a kid that I'm sponsoring right now just the other day, and it was put to me by my first sponsor ever, but it's what we suffer from is a lack of power, right? So, nowadays everything's battery operated. I think of tools, right? We'll get into that in a minute, but I think of it as a tool. So when you have a battery operated drill, when the battery's not connected and the source of power is not connected, it's useless.
Right.
Right. But as soon
100%.
as you put the battery in it,
It works again.
it does exactly what it's intended to do. So it's cool for me because I get to wake up every day now, and I feel like I'm plugged into a power that's greater than myself, and he's being able to use me as a tool for whatever I'm designed to do.
Because you're willing.
Right. And I just wish that I could share some of the joy. I wish I could like unplug myself from the joy for a minute and give it to somebody else so they know what it felt like.
I wish I could put my hands on someone's head and just like
Yes.
show them.
Yes.
It's like, you've seen science fiction movies or like, nerd, like I show you all my thoughts like that. I wish that was really a thing.
Yeah.
So we could probably go down this road
Sure.
forever because it's something we're both very passionate about. And at the end of the day, it's the reason that we're able to sit here and have this conversation.
100%.
Right.
Yeah.
But, to the real reason why I brought you here.
Sure.
So I've been in real estate for quite a while, and it's, you know, we go into a transaction and a lot of times there's repairs. There's stuff that the buyer wants fixed. There's stuff that the seller wants fixed before you put it on the market. And it's very important for us to have a good network of people that we can trust and depend on. And you've been, you started out as my handyman.
I did.
Doing just side work, piece jobs. And I would say like 2019, 2020, like right?
Yeah,
like
right.
2020, like
Right
right in the very beginning. I was
Yeah.
like, hey, you know how to use tools. I have stuff. And so I think, and I don't think he'll care, Randy T. I think he
Right.
was the first one,
Yep.
right? We did, and it was a tenant in place, and they wanted to buy the house from him, who was their landlord, and you did all kinds of stuff over there.
Yeah.
And I was extremely impressed. One, like you showed up, and a lot of people just won't show up for you. And you did everything that you said you were going to do. You did a really good job, and you didn't inflate the prices. Like he even went to Home Depot, bought all the stuff, paid for it. You went and picked it up, and then like you really did everything really amazing. And then I thankfully haven't had to find another person to handle those repairs as they come along. And then as life would have it, you ended up taking on, which I'm not surprised, the position that you're in now for DAC. So how did that even come about? Like, how did you end up with that job? Because you were working at the tire place.
Yeah.
Right?
So
you were managing
I've
it.
always been in a people business, some type of people industry. And I've lost certain jobs by my own doing by not showing up to work.
But see, people do that.
Because of the issues we talked about earlier. But I learned construction work on a lower level with my dad, because in real estate he was buying and flipping a lot of houses. So during my summers in school, he would just call me and say, we need to do drywall in Delano, and I would just go help him on a house he was flipping, and I realized how much I enjoyed it. The owner of the company now, Danny Araujo, called me. He's known me the better part, I would say 25 years.
Okay.
And he said, hey, I have my general contractor's license. He's also structural steel certified. And he said,
Doesn't he have like an automotive repair place too?
yeah, so he actually owns all automatic transmission.
That's what it is. Yeah.
And they have, I believe it's 4 locations. And Danny's grandpa started it years ago. It was further down on Brundage Lane. It's on East Brundage now.
So family owned locally, family owned for years.
Family owned for years. And he called me and asked me if I had ever wanted to run a construction company.
Huh.
And I said, believe it or
It's
not.
only all I've ever wanted in my whole life.
Yeah, actually, yeah. It's actually something I've always thought of, but I never really knew how to do it. And my talent hasn't ever really been, I'm not the strongest guy in the room, and I didn't think I could dig holes in dirt long enough at my age where my body could keep up with it to try to get to a position where I'm at today. And Danny knows my whole story. He knows my whole background. He knows everything.
No secrets.
And no
That's
secrets.
good.
No. And he called me and said, hey, is this something you'd be interested in? I think we can make something work. And I said, yeah, I know a little bit about construction. I can't tell you I know enough for you, but let's give it a shot. And we found one employee, and, we have 7 full-time now guys, and we move mountains with these 7 guys.
So DAC was not DAC before he contacted you, and okay. So essentially you're growing it.
Yes, we are growing it, and I don't know what the long-term game plan is. I know that we enjoy, because he has so many multiple businesses running at the same time, that he just expects each of us running those different companies to just do the right thing, and he's always a phone call away if I need him. But yeah, we're doing.
You guys have blown up.
Yeah, we have big time.
A lot.
Yeah, I still think it's a people business at the end of the day. I think there's a lot of people in town that can put new flooring in your home, or they can remodel your bathroom. But
speaking of bathrooms and remodel, hold on. Boop, boop.
Yeah.
You made a post yesterday. Was that legit? Or is that just an example of like what happened?
That's real.
That really happened?
Yeah, I feel bad for the lady. So she is a graduate of MIT. She has a degree, lives in San Francisco, and bought her first rental home.
Investment property.
Yeah, investment property. But she's in San Francisco. So she used a lead service that I use. And we met through a lead service. And I met her at the property. And she said, this is what I want to get done. I want to rent it by the 1st. What's your price? And let's do it. So anyway, we did it. And we started all the demo. The guy started the demo. And we tore out this master shower, and behind it, it was an absolute nightmare.
So just to give context to the people that are listening, he had posted a photo, and it's a shower, which is bare. Essentially, they'd taken out all the drywall and the shower pan and all that good stuff. And, you have supporting beams in your home that actually like structurally hold your house up.
Right.
Someone at some point had rerouted some plumbing, and they cut the support beams and then ran the plumbing directly underneath the support beams. I seen it and I was like, ah!
Yeah, on the west wall of the house, which is the back wall of the shower, behind where the tile was, there should be some 2x4 framework there that runs that holds the roof load of the house. Your exterior walls on your house for the most part are usually load bearing. And this is a load bearing wall. So really there's nothing. So they decided to cut all of those.
So how do you fix that?
So what we end up doing is we have to build a second wall about 4 inches out. We reroute the plumbing so it can run behind the wall like it's supposed to, not in the wall. And then we're going to have to rebuild the structure. So we're going to be building a temporary wall to hold it. Then we're going to rebuild the exterior wall essentially from the inside to carry the correct roof load.
I wonder if she got a home inspection when she bought it.
She did, but you would have there's no way you would ever know.
No, unless you cut into the wall.
Not in a million years you would never know. And then all the electricity isn't running through the 2x4 studs like it should be. It was all stapled to the outside of them. So if there was any water intrusion, it goes right into it. So it's just, I feel bad for some people because it looked like a homeowner DIY, watch the YouTube video.
Well, if that's the case, then they should have, this is the realtor in me is going to come out right now.
Yeah.
They should have disclosed that. If the seller did it, they knew it was done, they should have disclosed it. And if they failed to disclose it, she could end up.
Agreed. I think that whoever owned it before may not have known either.
It's changed hands a couple times.
Yeah, it's changed hands a couple times, but I am actually surprised that the window that's right underneath that roof load hasn't sagged or. It's actually a pretty scary one.
Like timeline,
we see a lot of stuff. But
timeline wise, what will that take you guys to do?
It'll take 2 guys about 2 full working days to get it.
That's it?
Yeah, we should be able to do it in about 2 days.
I thought you were going to say a lot longer than that.
But yeah, about 2 days. But I feel bad for her because also this is why it's a people business, because we don't really none of us as humans really spend money with people unless we trust them.
100%.
Right? It just happens.
If I know you trust you and like you, I'll give you my money.
It's just one of those things. And kind of like I was saying earlier, there's a million people that can work on your house, but at the end of the day, it's really whoever you trust. You're not going to hear me use a lot of big words because I did go to college, but I'm not that educated guy that can sit there and talk to CEOs of companies, but I'll talk to you like a normal person. So I was just able to explain it to her in a way with pictures since she's in San Francisco and we're here. What happened, and she fully understood it. And, there's additional cost now to the renovation. But when she rents the house, at least she knows that it will be safe.
Because potentially that could fall.
It could.
Right? Then on the plumbing.
Yeah.
Now you have, not only is your house falling down, but you're probably flooded your home also at the same time.
It was actually, it was when we got to that wall, they called me right away and I went and looked at it and it was pretty scary.
So, I don't know. How are we doing on time? Oh, well, anyways, home insurance is changing and I don't know how much that like affects you at all. Like probably doesn't affect you much, but have you had any work that you've had to do in the last, 2 months that has anything to do with required to place insurance on a home?
Yeah. Actually after this most recent windstorm, I took on 2 trees that fell down. One fell on a detached structure. And this, well, at least what I'm noticing now with the home insurance stuff is that because
you'll do all the paperwork.
I do all the paperwork.
And that's rare find.
Yeah.
So.
If there's people out there listening and you need something for insurance, I will talk
Todd
to them.
at DAC.
I will do all of it for you. Because it's kind of like talking to somebody from the DMV sometimes.
100%.
Oh, it's miserable. But I'm happy to do it for anybody. But I believe with the home insurance stuff, because it's changing.
100%.
Now this poor lady, she's never had to file a claim in her life. This giant 140-foot tall pine tree fell on her garage.
Which is 100% a claim.
So there's just thousands and thousands of dollars worth of damage. So they let her know, hey, we're going to cover this, but we're not going to reinsure you.
We're going to drop you.
Yeah, we're done. And this company, I won't name them, but they're backing out of California completely.
Oh, you don't have to name it. Everybody knows.
And it's a big name company. So what it's doing is leaving homeowners, like they don't know what to do.
We're having a major issue, and a lot of people don't understand that. So if you're buying a home and you've had a claim, if you're selling a home to buy a home and you had a claim on your existing home, that claim follows you to your new home. If the home you're buying had a claim on it, you also now are responsible for that claim. So if you've made a claim in the last 5 years, chances are insurance isn't going to pick up and cover you in the state of California. And it used to be like, so if I drive a car and I wreck a car, I'm responsible for that.
Right.
And then if I sell you the car, now you get to take the liability of that wreck because that car's been wrecked and it makes it more dangerous. Sure. Right? Like that is essentially what they're doing with homeowners insurance. It's absolutely crazy.
That's crazy. It's going to scare, it seems like it scares people off from.
It does. But the wonderful thing about, and I'm just going to plug the National Association of Realtors right now, they actually do a lot to keep homeownership affordable, possible.
Sure.
And they do a lot to keep us as realtors protected and able to continue to help our clients.
Nice.
It will not be very long before they figure out some way to remedy this homeowners insurance policy thing, because you have to have homeowners insurance policy if there's a loan on your home. Like I don't have to have it if I own my house outright. Right. It's absolutely ignorant not to.
Sure.
But
people will still want to live in California. Someone's got to make it.
Yeah.
It
is what it is.
People are going to live here. They're going to have to find a way to insure it.
So because I said National Association of Realtors, I do want to touch on one more thing before we get off. And this doesn't have anything to do with you, but this is my platform and I'm going to use it. So
you got it.
There's a lot of talk going on right now. There's a lawsuit that happened in regards to buyer agency and clear cooperation commission, and some antitrust laws were apparently broken. What I would like to remind everyone is that we tend to get little bits of information and then hyperventilate over them before we have all the facts, right? So NAR was really kind and they printed out a fact sheet so everyone can go and get the facts regarding the lawsuit. And, in 2020, a little thing called COVID happened. Nobody probably remembers that. Everyone remembers that. Yeah. So COVID hit, and for 2 weeks they said that we were non-essential. They told us all to shut our doors and go home. And we had no idea when we would be able to work again. Wow. Within 2 weeks, NAR found a workaround and got us deemed essential and got us back to work. So they haven't brought us this far to only bring us this far. Please continue to support our National Association of Realtors because they really do have our best interest at heart. And at the end of these, I hate doing this, but it only seems right. I asked you all these questions. Do you have any questions for me?
If you could sum up your life in a short little 2-sentence paragraph today, how would you do that?
Oh, 2 sentences? My whole life? Gee, that's tough, man. Where you start out is not where you have to end up.
There you go.
Because I came from nothing, and I've built a really, really good life for myself, all by myself. And don't feed into the hype. Don't believe what your crazy head tells you sometimes.
I totally agree with you.
That's not summing up my life, but that's just a good little advice for anybody. I had so much fun today.
I know. This was really fun.
I hope that, somebody got something out of this. And if you didn't, that's okay, because we did.
We had a great time. I actually have to make a correction on one thing that I said.
Yes.
So probably because we had just started and I wasn't thinking yet, so my sobriety date is December 19, 2020.
I knew it was wrong, but I wasn't going to call you out. It's not my job to take your inventory.
It wasn't 2019, and I've been sitting here the whole time thinking about it, and I thought, man, because it's important enough, I need to correct that. It's a special day for me.
That's very important.
Anyway, I had to clear that up.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good clarification.
Yeah.
So thank you, everybody, for listening to another episode of the Be Better podcast. And the Be Better podcast is not just about real estate. It's about being better in general. So wake up every day and go be your best self.
Amen.
That's it. Bye.